It's been great being here today. Thank you, and thank you for all your work, and happy birthday again. I don't know what I want to add. It seems more like a brainstorming. I teach about the media, so I will be and have been for many years using your work and building on it in terms of critiques of communications and how to connect that to social justice and to larger questions of challenging capital. And I would love to talk to more people about that. So I'll just put that out there. Doing that, I think that social networking and the internet is great, but it is not a great medium for thinking together. It's a great medium for circulating images and videos of struggle. So if there was an offline organization, I think it would be great to have an online presence that linked to videos and that linked to all kinds of documentation of struggles to help circulate them. But I'm with Fiona in that a website very, very quickly dissipates. Facebook very, very quickly dissipates unless there is an offline organization that has a basis in political organizing and also, I think, in doing activity together and thinking together. And that said, the second thing that I'd just like to put out there is I'd love to join a Marxist feminist study group that was actually doing an analysis of the crisis in social reproduction, because I think that's really, really urgent.
Me too.
And I think it connects with the whole NGOization, because I think what's happened is a whole, since the 80s, we don't call it structural adjustment, but we need to reanalyze the privatization of social services in this country and the kind of evisceration that it's led to and class divides that it's led to. So I'm up for that if you want to kick it off. Thank you very much again.
The only thing I sort of also think about the internet stuff. Sometimes when you switch to online, it encourages quantity over quality. So I don't know. I feel like there's a role for it, but it should always be sort of as an addendum to some sort of face-to-face production.
Hi, thanks for having me and all of us here. I think that right now Midnight Notes needs to do at least two things. Fight for its ideas and let its ideas be expanded and transformed by other radical tendencies. And maybe those can happen simultaneously. And I agree with a lot of folks here that fighting for the ideas is about putting them out there in terms of actual campaigns and struggles, whether that's building these kinds of institutions and communities in the outside struggles, or whether that's thinking about these kinds of inside struggles in ways that ideas like commons and recomposition, etc., can inform and help make those stronger. But I think it also needs to happen in the kind of battle of ideas. And I think that right now is the time to do that, because being situated in the academy, I see the way that the broader stream of autonomous Marxism has really been once again taken up right now, through Hart and Negri, but also through Peters, when he headed Hydra, and just the kind of general interest and excitement. Dara can speak to it more, but she was just saying she was at a conference where every panelist mentioned autonomous Marxism. Yesterday, about art and technology and things like that. So the time is now, and it was really interesting to hear this sense of the kind of in the 80s where this kind of impenetrable tight-knit group and stuff like that. But I think there are a lot of brilliant folks here, and there's already a lot of ideas that have been created, but that haven't been circulated that far. And even if you never write, or we never write another text, there's all these ideas from 30 years that just haven't been pushed and that could be taken up a lot more broadly in movements, but also by other left intellectuals that are really looking for some kind of grasp on the situation right now. And so I think in doing that, there's a lot of possibility for translatability of concepts and ideas and ways of looking at the world that Midnight Notes has developed and that other groups are working on right now, that there's a lot of potential for openings and collaborations. I see those in groups like Critical Resistance and Insight, Women of Color Against Violence, who are organized autonomously in networks that are looking for extra state solutions, that are looking at building collaborative relationships in communities. Those are some really interesting conversations that could be had, and I know some of those folks, like Andrea Smith, have been specifically taking up some of the ideas, taking up Holloway and other folks have those conversations. Another place would be the developing discourse of modernity, colonization and decolonization, or the coloniality of power school, which is happening a lot, with people like Walter Mignolo and Arturo Escobar. And I think some of those folks are having conversations with Michael Hardner and Duke and stuff like that. But there's a lot of interesting crossovers there. And that's theoretical kind of space that comes out of Latin American social movements and that are really thinking about autonomy and commons and environmentalism in similar ways, but with somewhat different words. So it's like, if that kind of engagement can happen, I feel like it could be regenerative and bring new ideas into Midnight Notes thinking, and that there's still a lot that Midnight Notes can really push amongst those folks, and that broadens the community and makes for more, at least more kind of scholar types that can be hopefully pushing themselves into actual movements. So that, I would love to see all that happen, and I'd be happy to try to help in those projects if that's wanted or needed. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I've been tremendously influenced by Midnight Notes and by many of your guys' writing as individuals. So, sorry, I would be very sad if Midnight Notes were to die. I didn't even know that was on the table, but I guess my preference is for you to continue on writing. I did want to comment on one thing that I view as a gap in your work up to this point. There's a fantastic piece by George Kofensis that I think was written before Midnight Notes started, called "The University in Crisis: Throwing Away the Ladder," and it's an analysis of the university that, among other things, argues that the struggle over and through the university is already a wage struggle, and I think that's a very important line of analysis that unfortunately doesn't come through in much of Midnight Notes' later work. In fact, it doesn't seem like Midnight Notes writes much about the university except in Africa, but not here, not United States-based education. I could be wrong. I haven't read everything you guys have written, so correct me if I'm missing something. But I think there have been some interesting things going on in the last few years in the university. There were 3 different occupations last year of university campuses right here in New York. UC Santa Cruz was occupied about a month ago. Graduate students at University of Illinois are about to go on strike on Monday, just to give a few examples. And I think that all those struggles could benefit from the kind of analysis that you could provide. It's also interesting, I know that given the fact that several of you are very much enmeshed in the university in your own professional lives, that you don't write a whole lot about academic struggles, at least not as they pertain to you directly. So that would just be one possible direction to go in the future.